great. We're going to get started right away today. We'll let more people in as they come, but I feel like everybody who's here has been here before, but in case you're watching this on YouTube later, hello, my name is Sarah. I'm the program manager for the Growing Indigenous Storytellers Fellowship. And super happy to be here and excited for this presentation. I want to thank you guys so much for joining the call, and also to our sponsors, or sorry, not our sponsors, our partners in this program, the Indigenous Journalists Association and APTN News. Just a bit of housekeeping. This is going to be a 1-hour presentation with the lovely Colleen, and then we're going to do sort of Q&A throughout. It looks like we're going to be a pretty small group today, so raise your hand, drop it in the chat. Colleen's going to break a few times for any questions, so feel free to jump in then. This meeting is being recorded, so just please be aware of that, and it will be posted to YouTube along with the Q&A sections. So again, thank you so much, Colleen, for joining us. Colleen is joining us from the Google News Initiative and is here to walk us through how Google Trends works and how you can use it to make your reporting stronger.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm going to jump right in. If you have questions, as usual, I'll pause periodically as I go, and you can ask questions throughout. Or put them in the chat. Okay, so I'm talking about Google Trends today. We'll look at just an overview of trends, how journalists can use Google Trends, some key points about trends, and then some publisher use cases. Here's a link where you can find trends. You can also just look up Google Trends and it'll take you to the Google Trends homepage. In a nutshell, this is a web app that was launched in 2007, and it gives users insight into what people are searching for on Google. So it's sort of like a search engine for searches on Google. It's the largest real-time data set in the world. So Google has billions of searches a day. It's updated to within 3 minutes. So you can see what people are searching for, what they're interested in almost real time. And it's a real reflection of what people are looking up, unlike searching for something on, Facebook, or asking about something on Facebook. There's no eyes on your search box. So people can ask questions and look up things in an honest way. So some key features of trends: users can see how a topic is trending. So when it's reached peak search interest, or how search interest in a topic compares to other topics. Users can also see what's trending now, so trending queries in real time, with context on when each trend started, how long it's remained popular, and what's the trajectory of the search interest in it. How can journalists use trends? Finding story ideas. So this could be anything from, which election topics are popular right now in Google search, to which pie recipes are popular around Thanksgiving in Google search. Data to support story creation. So we've seen during election debates, certain terms or topics peak in search as politicians are speaking. So a way to identify, in real time during an election debate, what might be an unfamiliar concept to people, what words they're looking up, what they might want more information about. You can also increase discovery, so searchability with trends, which keywords or titles might be searched more frequently compared to others. So, for example, and we can take a look at this one, were people in the winter of 2021 searching more for Freedom Convoy or for Trucker Convoy? Some more examples. So using the Trending Now feed to see what people are searching for in a specific country, or a region. So in our case, a province. You can filter by when a trend emerged and drill down to see a breakdown of it and related topics that people are also searching for related to that trend. You can also get more detailed, granular insights about a specific trend. So a graph indicating whether it's still trending, related queries, so questions that people are asking related to that trend, and current news coverage related to it. In terms of getting data to support story creation, looking for keywords related to your article within a specific time frame. In this example, this is showing how monkeypox virus peaked a month after the outbreak in DRC summer of 2024, Democratic Republic of Congo in last summer. We saw this with COVID as well. In fact, there's some academic research articles showing how COVID symptoms, search terms related to COVID symptoms peaked months or weeks before an outbreak in a given region or area. Trends is often used during elections, which is obviously relevant to us now in Canada. So you can look for, when people are searching for a particular politician, what other questions are they asking? What are the election topics that are getting a lot of attention? What are the searches, like I mentioned, during televised live debates? What are people looking up, specific words or phrases? You can also embed these graphs in your stories or take a screenshot. So if you want to add trends data, you can sort of have a ready-made little graph to embed in your story. In terms of increasing discovery or searchability, again, you can try out different keywords that might appear in your headline to see which are more generally used or searched by people in your region. Some key facts, some key things to note about trends. This are the trends patterns that Google's identified. So in fact, if you want to go over to Google Trends, so I'm going to flip over to Trends, and you can go to trends.google.com. It'll take you to a page that looks like this. You can see, because my location settings are on, it immediately brings me to Canada. I can go to trending now. And so these are the trending graphs in green on the side that I'm looking at. And Google's broken those down in terms of a shock change. So this is a sudden spike in search interest that is unlikely to sustain. So it goes right up and then goes back down. Hand sanitizer is the example they show at the bottom of the slide. A step change is sort of a more sudden increase, but it doesn't go right back down, it sustains. And the example on the bottom of the slide is Google searches for generative AI. And then the final one, the speed up, is an acceleration of search interest that's a little more gradual in the increase of search interest, but it might continue to increase and sustain. And if you look here, I'm going to toggle over and you can have this page open too on your browser. You can see here we have, a spike in search interest in Matthew Knees. You can see more, this is more of a gradual increase in the Masters leaderboard, which will probably continue as long as the Masters are on. We have sort of a step increase in Frito-Lay's Tostitos corn chip recall, which went up and then has sustained sort of as long as that recall is in the public's attention. Google Trends provides, so it's not telling you in raw numbers. There are 1.5 million searches for Mark Carney, for instance, last week in Canada. It's a sample of data, a sample of unfiltered, anonymized Google searches within your specified region, within your specified time frame. So it's a sample, and it's represented on a scale of 0 to 100 relative to other searches in that time frame in that region. So search interest shown on a scale of 0 to 100, where 100 represents the point where the term got the most search interest. And then other points on that 0 to 100 graph reflect relative search volume compared to the maximum point. Normalization. So Google Trends normalizes search data to make comparisons between terms easier. So each data point is divided by the total searches of the geography and the time range it represents to compare relative popularity. One example we can think about this is global warming. So if you look up global searches for global warming, you'll see that smaller countries tend to have a higher interest in search interest in global warming. Those small countries would not show up if the data was not normalized, because countries with huge populations like the US would sort of overpower that. Because Google Trends works on a sample of search data and not raw numbers of exact searches, sometimes you'll encounter low or no data responses because there's not enough search volume in that particular time frame or that particular region to produce a sample. So in that case, you can try changing the search term or topic, or modify your time range, or zoom out. Typically means zooming out to a larger geographic area. Terms versus topics. So you've probably heard me say topics and terms as I'm talking. In Google Trends, you can search for search queries. So this would be, the first example we have here, search term apple. So it would be those letters in that order. When you see a topic show up, so in this case, Apple, either the technology company or Apple, the fruit, those represent a cluster of similar queries. So it could be different spellings. It could be that query in multiple languages. It gives you sort of a more complete picture of that item. So it's recommended that if you type in a word, a search term, and you see the option for a topic to pop up, that you select the topic, because it will include, if you typed in Kate Middleton, it would include Duchess of Windsor. It would include misspellings of her name. It would include other ways she's called, for example. Top versus rising related queries. So top related queries are those that are most frequently searched along with the term that you entered. Rising related queries are terms that were searched along with a keyword you entered that had the most significant growth in a specific time period. And we'll look at this in the demo. Privacy. So again, because data is anonymized, because it's normalized, you can't, drill down and see, on a certain street what people are searching, for example. It's a sample of data. Some publisher use cases. Univision in Philadelphia used Trends to create a story about search terms around Valentine's Day in Pennsylvania. So I often see trends used in stories that are seasonal. Google Trends was used by Fox to understand public reactions around the repeal of Roe versus Wade by showing an increase in searches for birth control, cycle tracking apps, etc., contraception. Axios used trends to get data around a story about public interest in generative AI. Comparing the relative search term popularity for cryptocurrency. So they noted in this story that in terms of search interest, generative AI overpassed interest in cryptocurrency. Le Monde used trends to highlight how COVID-19 related concerns had shifted since the beginning of the pandemic. So this would be an example of looking at related queries associated with a search term, in this case, COVID-19. Here's another one, El Tiempo used trends data to look at a search interest in Shakira for a feature on her impact on the music industry and female empowerment. Any questions? We're going to take a look at trends live now. Are there any questions before I move on?
Colleen, I've got one. What's the smallest geography that you can plug into it? Like, what's the smallest breakdown?
In Canada, it's a province.
Okay.
Yeah. But there are ways to search for what's trending in your city, and I'll show you how. Yeah.
Super.
In the US, for example, though, you can search at like a county level. So it goes or a municipal, like a greater municipality level. But yeah, here in Canada, you're looking at a provincial, regional level. Okay, any other questions? Okay, so here we are. I'm going to go back to the homepage. Once again, we're set at Canada, but I can change my parameters here to another country or to global if I want to, which would be, I think, under world. Maybe it's at the bottom. Well, we'll figure that out. Let's set it to global for now. On the homepage, you can see so what's trending currently. And this changes. So these are the basically what's trending now, and this flips between Canada and the US and the world. Below that, we have deeper dives. So these are issues and events explored in more detail. These are put together by the Trends Data team around every year. So this is kind of a fun one you can look out for 2005. They're released in late December, January, and they look at the year through Google Trends data. And then they've got, deep dive into Major League Baseball and the NBA. And they've highlighted some more use cases, newsroom use cases, charity use cases down here. Here's an example of the year in search. They've got this like nice video. And if we look at Canada, we can see a breakdown of what were the top trending terms and topics in news and events, in people, entertainment, and questions. You'll notice here, because these are looking at, top trends, a lot of it is global news events. A lot of it is US sports, celebrities, entertainment. And that's what we see when we look at the Trending Now page as well. So here on the Trending Now page, I've got a few filters at the top. Canada, and then if I look here, I've made the suggestion that this could be a little more easier formatted so that we don't have to scroll down, but here we can, no. Here we can use this menu to go to, I'm really struggling here. There we go, to go to provinces. Or even better, just type it in here. So when you asked about, Sarah, you know, what level could you go to? This is here on the Trending Now page. So what's trending now in Quebec? Again, a lot of the same thing that's trending nationally. So the Masters tournament, European Soccer League. This is also related to the soccer league. This clothing company from Montreal. I can filter to the past 7 days down to the past 4 hours. All categories. So this is one way to sort of cut through the typical sports, entertainment, celebrity news. For example, and we don't, let's go back to Canada. Well, business and finance, for example. So we have the clothing company I mentioned. This looks like a recipe option. I'm going to go back to Canada to just broaden my search, and we should see more options here. If we go to politics, Save Act, I'm not sure what this is. All trends, this is just showing what is currently continuing to see an uptick in search interest, active only versus all trends. And then by relevance, you can search by, you know, what is, again, trending currently, to search volume, just another way of organizing this list, basically, to title alphabetically. And then here, you know, if I click on bond market today, we get a closer look at this trending graph. And we can see, because it was grayed out, so it's no longer trending, bond market is no longer trending, seeing an increase in search interest, and we see related news topics. From a journalist point of view, I think that the Explore page, so this is where you enter your own search terms and topics, I think that this is probably more interesting from a reporter's perspective. So once again, before we've entered our own search terms, you can see generally what's trending now by topic or keyword and by queries, so questions that people are asking related to a certain term. So thinking in terms of politics, we could search for, again, we can search for up to five terms at once. So we could search for, I'm going to plug in Mark Carney. And here, again, because I've got the option to select a topic, which will include a broader swath of searches for this person, maybe where Mark was spelled with a C instead, or Carney without an E. So I'm going to select that one. Add Pierre Polyev. This is misspelled, that's why. So here we have, again, a topic there. and the leader of the block. So here our settings are set to Canada. I can navigate to a province here in this toolbar, but I can also do it down in the map by just selecting a province, clicking on a province on the map. Past 12 months, I want to look at a narrower time range, so I'm going to look at the past 7 days. All categories, this will take you to this will take you to a specific category. This is useful if you are looking at a search term or topic that has a double meaning. So, you know, apple, for example, we looked at, or jaguar could be a car or could be the cat. So let's keep this open to all categories. And then web search, again, I typically keep this open because it's going to encompass all image searches, shopping searches, YouTube searches, and news searches. Interest over time, this is the graph showing that scale of 1 to 100 that we talked about. So as I scroll over here with my mouse, I can see relative search interest in the candidates. So when search interest in that candidate peaked, and also where they stand relative to other search interest in the other candidates. So we can see, and makes it easier to see that each search term is given a term or topic is given a color. So here we see Mark Carney mostly getting the most search interest until April 7th, when Pierre Poilievre peaked. When search interest peaked to 100. We can see down below here, less search interest in the other candidates down below. Here we see a breakdown by subregion. So this is showing all of the candidates, again, because in general search interest for Mark Carney is the highest. That's why the map is all blue here. But I can toggle this to show relative search interest for other candidates. We tend to see high search interest in Nunavut and the Northwest Territories and the Yukon. So I think that is because of the normalization aspect, that they're waiting for population by geography. We see that in other countries like Australia that have a relatively small population that has certain regions that have a very little of the population. And then here is where you see a breakdown per search term or topic, so per candidate. So here we have related queries. And here is where we can, we can't see a city view in terms of what's trending now, but we can see a municipal view for a particular search term or topic on the Explore page. So we're seeing Carney getting a lot of interest in Picton and Parksville in BC over the past week. We also see related queries. So people who are searching for Mark Carney are also searching for these terms. And again, this can be a way to generate story ideas. How tall is Mark Carney? Maybe you want to tell your readers. Or his book is getting some buzz, or people are interested in his views on China. Rising. Again, this is showing you search related queries that have seen a dramatic increase in the past week, whereas top are overall. So I would say, again, rising is more interesting from like a newsworthy perspective. Poilievre, so interestingly, the related queries to Poilievre are not necessarily related to questions about him or policies, but well, there's some rallies, but PC Optimum Points, Dire Wolf, I'm a chocolate bar recall. I'm not sure why that would be. Here we see interest-related queries in Jagmeet Singh. And finally in Elizabeth May and Yves François Blanchet. Not surprisingly, most search interest in Quebec here. So you could also do a search like this for the parties. The closer you get to an election, the more, I would say, interesting, newsworthy these related queries become. If I wanted to, let's narrow this down and see if we can just get interest over time for the past day. If I wanted to embed a graph like this, I could just download it here. Well, actually, no, that just downloads a CSV file, which I could use to make my own graphic if I wanted to in another application. If I click here on embed, I get an HTML script that I can embed into a page for desktop or mobile. And I have the option to keep this data updated on my site. So it will change to show search interest in the past day up to date. And then this is just a static image that I can share on social media. To change your search topics or terms, sometimes I've noticed that if I, oh, we're getting a little freeze here. Sometimes I notice if I just delete them, they kind of pop back like this. So I go to the 3 dots and click remove. So I mentioned, you know, looking at election keywords as well. So we could compare, and let's set this to the past 30 days again. We could compare some election terms like tariffs or tariff, we'll go with the topic, or housing. In this case, I'm going to set this to politics or news. And we can see here, again, what kind of questions are people asking around the tariffs? What kind of questions are people asking around housing? So there is interest in the Housing Accelerator Fund, GST on housing. And here's Pierre Poilievre voting record. Here's a former housing minister. So that might be, again, information you could provide to readers. I could add more search terms here too, like environment or pipelines. And we've got more and more. Any suggestions? Any suggestions for what you might want to add there?
Like cost of living, is that too many words?
Nope. So again, we have, let's change this since the past week, because it's been a lot more like appearances, candidate appearances in the past week. So we see here tariffs are still kind of dominating search interest. We can see a breakdown of search interest, so more search interest in the environment in the northern regions. We can navigate through here. And then again, related questions to the tariffs. To housing, to environment. It looks like environment is actually people looking up the weather. So that might be, we might want to look at like climate change, for instance, or environmental policy. Pipelines and cost of living. So there's not enough data here. This is what it looks like when there's not enough data to show. It just says not enough data. But we can see a lot of search interest in cost of living in Alberta and British Columbia. And then, so if I was, if I wanted to see what was trending in relation to a debate, let's say there's a major leaders debate, I would set my search topic to leaders debate. In Canada, if the debate was today, I would set my settings to today, and then I could look at related queries to see, what is coming up during the debate. I can also, I mentioned looking at what might be trending in a particular city. And under the trending now, we don't have the option of drilling down into city level data. But here, if I enter the name of a city, so let's say Toronto. I'm going to try to find the topic here. I'm looking at Canada the past day. I'm going to broaden this. Well, I could keep it to news, or I could broaden it to any topic, web search. I'm going to click on the map in Ontario to narrow my search region to Ontario. And you can see here some of the queries that people are asking in relation to Toronto. So newsworthy topics might be a federal Toronto riding maps. There's a Metallica concert coming up. I know one reporter said they were actually able to identify a fire that hadn't hit the news yet by seeing that people were asking Google, like, hey, I'm hearing about this fire, what's going on? Let's look at another city. Let's try Winnipeg. Sometimes what you see are past day news. Let's make this all categories. And I'm going to click on Manitoba. So sometimes these are people, not newsworthy stuff, people looking for, restaurants or where to eat. Prayer times, Winnipeg. You might identify, what a particular population in your city is looking for that you might not have thought to look for. Let's bring this back to Canada. You can also compare different regions. So we looked up, for example, I'm going to pick a search term, pickleball. I'm going to add the same search term over here. I'm going to widen my, so let's say I want to compare popularity of pickleball in Canada relative to popularity of pickleball in other countries. So I can't have two, there's not a filter up here for two regions or two countries. But up here, if I click on these three dots, I can change filters and then change country here. So we could even try this worldwide. Oh, worldwide data cannot be compared to data from other regions. Let's go to United States. And this should be back to Canada. So now I'm looking at search interest in pickleball in Canada the past 12 months compared to search interest in pickleball in the US over the past 12 months. And see, actually it's pretty close. Or we could look at when did, pickleball become popular relative to other sports. I'm always searching for badminton courts in Montreal, and I find it hard to find, and I blame pickleball. But we can see here comparing pickleball and badminton. Let's go past 5 years. And we can see, badminton was kind of generally more popular, overtaking pickleball up until about 2023. Maybe even earlier, 2022 is when pickleball started to surpass badminton in terms of search interest. In terms of they're thinking about like comparing keywords in headlines, I mentioned, the search interest in Freedom Convoy versus Trucker Convoy. So let's take a look. Are there any guesses? Which do you think was more searched in 2021?
I'm going to guess the Trucker Convoy.
So I'm going to keep these as search terms because you saw pop up when I typed in Freedom Convoy, Canadian Convoy protests. So that would include searches for both. But in this case, I want to compare like this exact term with that exact term. So you can see here, like obviously there's a big spike, December 2021. I want to narrow that time frame. So I'm going to go here. I have the option to go back by various increments, but I can also enter a custom time range. So in this case, I'm going to say I can select a full year if I want, or I could go, let's say the 1st of December 2021 to the let's say 1st of April 2021. I think I've got that format correct. Maybe not. Oh, sorry, this should be 2022, that's why. So here we've got actually showing in January 2022, showing a peak in Freedom Convoy. And if we were to look at related terms, they're mostly the same. But again, if we're thinking about which term to use in a headline, and I know news organizations have their own, editorial decisions to make about what words they want to use, but this can be another way of thinking about, like, okay, how is the general public talking about a topic? Or this was another one I thought of more recently, so I'm going to set my 12 months. Are people looking up food prices, or are they looking up grocery prices? Which might I want to use? And here it looks like people are searching more for food prices compared to grocery prices. And again, related queries here might give some clues about what topics or what kind of questions people are asking related to these search terms. I'll pause there and see if there's any questions or any searches you've tried that you want to share, or any search terms, topics you want me to try with the group.
Perhaps not.
I see. Oh, yes. Thank you, Angela. You're right, though. So looking at worldwide, it is at the top. So if we go to this menu, worldwide at the top there. There was another, so I've also, in terms of kind of figuring out more generally, like, hey, if I don't have a term or a topic to start with, but I want to understand what kinds of questions people are asking. You can also do this, just start with the beginning, why of questions: who, what, when, how. And then drill down to very recently. So we could go for the past day. And then you could click on whatever province you're interested in. But here, if we look generally, and again, with this, this graph isn't going to tell us much, but below that, we've got what questions people are asking that begin with why. Why did stocks go up? I saw, why do dogs eat their own poo? Why does Easter change dates? Again, lots of celebrity entertainment type questions.
I mean, it looks silly, but like, we see ourselves, like,
Yeah,
I have Googled sillier things.
I think it's also maybe, like, as reporters, people who are used to just reading a lot and staying on top of things and consuming lots of information, it can be easy to forget that a lot of other people aren't necessarily like taking in the same volume or the same amounts of information as us. And so, getting back to basics or understanding kind of the basic questions, of basic concerns of can be, not a bad idea. And yeah, that's all I wanted to show you today. I'll just pause and see if there's any more questions. I will say that the election stuff gets more interesting, like especially in the sort of week leading up to an election, especially when the leaders' debates start happening. So it might be interesting for you to experiment with trends on your own using some of these, words like election topics, even words like platform or party platform, party policies. Especially take a look at trends during leaders' debates with the topic leader debate to start with, and then drill down to related queries to see what kind of questions people are asking as the debate's going on. It can also be interesting to look at when we looked at the well, I think I did the party's name, but to look at the leaders' names and where geographically they show up in terms of city search interest. I know CTV, I believe, or the National Post did an analysis of that during the last federal election, which leaders were being searched more in which cities.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of cool stuff. That's very good. It's just the two fellows in the session. We lost someone, so I guess we can wrap up and move into the
Yeah.
other bit. Okay, I'm making it complicated for my poor comms person to edit around this. Just for the benefit of the YouTube people, I'm going to do my like wrap up spiel, but it's going to feel very silly because I'm talking to the three of you. But okay, here we go. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. I'm really, really glad to see you here. And if you have any feedback, it can go to canadian.programs@jhr.ca. Again, that's canadian.programs@jhr.ca. And if you're interested in more entries in this series, please stay tuned to the JHR and IJA social media channels. Thanks so much.